Picture this, you are sinking. You fall past the world of light, beyond the shimmering blue where sunlight can reach. You pass the twilight zone, where strange, glowing creatures drift like lonely stars. You keep falling down, down, down into a world of absolute, crushing black. The pressure here is so immense it would pulverize a car into a pancake. The water is just above freezing. This is the abyss, the deep ocean. It's a realm more alien than the surface of the moon, and it covers more than 2/3 of our planet. The only sound is the rhythmic, lonely ping of your sonar, slicing through a darkness that has never, ever known the sun. For all of human history, we've treated the deep as, well, as deep, an out-of-sight, out-of-mind basement for our planet. We've mapped the surface of Mars in more detail than our own ocean floor. We stare up at the stars, dreaming of alien life, all while a truly alien world exists right here, under our noses. We've always assumed it was mostly empty, a vast, cold desert of mud, populated by tiny, bizarre microbes and the occasional, slow-moving, gelatinous thing. But what if we've been wrong? What if the deep isn't empty? What if it's just quiet? Or maybe, what if it was just patient? Think about it. Our world, the surface, is a cacophony. Boat engines, oil drills, seismic testing. We are incredibly noisy neighbors. But down there, miles beneath the chaos, was a realm of profound, ancient silence. We assumed that silence meant absence. But what if we just haven't been listening correctly? What if the creatures of the deep communicate in ways we can't comprehend, on frequencies we've only just learned to hear? And what if, just maybe, they've been listening to us the entire time? Our first real clue came in 1997. The Cold War was over, but the U.S. Navy's deep-sea hydrophones, a secret network of underwater ears designed to track enemy submarines, were still listening. That summer, they recorded a sound. It wasn't a sub. It wasn't a whale. It was a sound so profoundly powerful it was picked up by sensors over 5,000 kilometers apart. It was an ultra-low frequency rumble that rose in pitch over a minute, a deafening bellow from the absolute depths of the South Pacific. They gave it a name, the Bloop. The audio profile of the Bloop was unsettling. It sounded, for all the world, like a living thing, a vocalization. But there was a terrifying problem with that theory. For an animal to make a sound that loud, a sound that could cross an entire ocean, it would have to be impossibly big, colossally, mythically, monstrously big. We're talking far, far larger than a blue whale, the largest animal we've ever known to exist. The math just didn't work. The implications were too much. A creature of that size couldn't exist, right? Naturally, we scrambled for a less pants-sweatingly terrifying explanation. And years later, science gave us one. The official consensus landed on icequakes. Not an animal, but massive icebergs cracking and calving in Antarctica, their keels scraping the seabed as they fractured. It's a good explanation. It's logical. It's comforting. It means there isn't a real-life Cthulhu gargling in the dark. It lets us all sleep a little better at night. And for decades, that's where the story ended. The Bloop was solved. Case closed. But here's the thing. The Bloop was one sound, one time. A famous anomaly. What if it was just the first time we were forced to pay attention? Because lately, something's changed. Our more advanced listening posts, the ones we've dropped into the shadow zone and the so-called dead zones, are picking up new things. And these things are not icequakes. They are not volcanoes. They are not submarines. The abyss, it seems, is getting louder. We're not just talking about faint murmurs. We're hearing rhythmic, deep bass rumbles from the Mariana Trench that have no geological or biological match. We're hearing patterns, call and response that don't fit any known whale. And then there are the sonar readings. Our deep-sea research subs, the few brave vessels that map the trenches, are getting echoes. Echoes of objects the size of a 747, moving with impossible speed 6 miles down. Shapes that seem to inspect the subs from a distance, just at the edge of the sonar's reach, before vanishing into a canyon. What's changed? Why now? For a century, we've been dumping our waste, our chemicals, and our heat into the ocean. We've created vast, hypoxic dead zones where we assumed nothing could live. But what if we just made the bed for something that doesn't breathe what we breathe? What if we've been running a planet-sized evolutionary experiment without realizing it? We've been staring at the closed door to the basement for 100 years, and now suddenly we're hearing something very, very big stirring on the other side. These new echoes from the void are forcing us to ask a terrifying question. Are these new creatures born of our mistakes? Or are they the return of something ancient, something that ruled the planet long before we ever did? To even begin to guess what's making these new sounds, we have to look back. We have to understand the old giants and the vast, empty thrones they left behind. So we've got these sounds coming from the deep, eerie, powerful, and unknown. Before we can even guess what's making them, we need to look at what's already down there. We have to establish a baseline. What does a known ocean giant look, sound, and act like? Well, get ready, because the baseline is already more incredible than any fiction. Let's meet the reigning heavyweight champion of planet Earth. Not just today, but of all time, the blue whale. When I say champion, I mean it. This animal is a living superlative. Forget T-Rex, forget Brontosaurus. A large blue whale can be 100 feet long and weigh 200 tons. That is the weight of 30 elephants. Its heart is the size of a small car and pumps 10 tons of blood. Its tongue, just its tongue, weighs as much as an adult elephant. When it surfaces, its exhale shoots 30 feet into the air. This is an animal so vast it defies imagination. And it exists right now, sharing the planet with us. Its call is a deep, resonating bass note that can travel hundreds of miles. A frequency so low we'd feel it in our bones more than we'd hear it. But size is one thing. What about the nightmare factor? For that, we have to meet the other living titan, the one we almost never see. This is the real-life kraken, the colossal squid. We know it exists almost entirely from two gruesome pieces of evidence. Massive, plate-sized beaks found in the stomachs of sperm whales, and the whales themselves, whose surface covered in horrific scars, circular wounds, some with a diameter of a dinner plate, left by a creature that fought back against the whale in the pitch black miles down. We've only ever found a few intact specimens, hauled up by accident from the Antarctic depths. And they are terrifying. They possess the largest eyes of any living thing, the size of basketballs, designed to capture the faintest glimmer of bioluminescence in the abyss. And their tentacles? They aren't just covered in suckers. They are armed with a double row of swiveling, razor-sharp hooks to rip and tear. This is a 45-foot-long, half-ton predator. An armored, intelligent, hook-covered hunter that lives in a realm we can barely visit. And this is just present day. So why does the ocean do this? How does it build these things? On land, you have a hard limit, gravity. A 200-ton animal would be instantly crushed into a puddle by its own weight. But in the water, buoyancy changes everything. The ocean is a forgiving, weightless cradle that says, go ahead, get bigger. I can support you. The cold, crushing dark of the abyss also slows everything down. Metabolism, aging, life just lasts longer. A Greenland shark can live for 400 years, growing slowly, silently, continuously, in the dark. The ocean has the space, the time, and the physics to build on a scale that land simply cannot. The ocean, you see, has a proven track record of building monsters. It's the planet's default setting. The titans we have now are just the survivors of an even more terrifying age of giants. Let's wind the clock back 40 million years. Meet Basilosaurus. Its name means king lizard, but it was a whale. A 60-foot-long serpentine whale that was nothing like the gentle giants of today. It had a skull full of differentiated teeth, sharp slicers at the front, bone-crushing molars at the back. It was an ambush predator. It was the T-Rex of the seas. And it was just a warm-up. Let's jump forward to the Miocene about 12 million years ago. Meet Leviathan, a sperm whale named after the biblical Leviathan and Herman Melville, and it earned both names. It was the size of a modern sperm whale, but it was not hunting squid. Its teeth were a foot long. We know what it ate because we found the bones. Leviathan hunted other whales. It was a whale-eating whale, the undisputed apex predator of its time. And then, there's the headliner, the one you've been waiting for, Megalodon, a shark that could reach 60, maybe even 70 feet long. Its jaws could open wide enough to swallow a rhino. It didn't just bite. It was a ram predator. It would slam into a whale from below with enough force to shatter its ribs before delivering the killing bite. This wasn't just a bigger great white. This was a different class of monster, a whale processing machine that ruled every ocean on Earth for 20 million years. Basilosaurus, Leviathan, Megalodon. These aren't myths. They aren't legends. They are a gallery of past rulers. They are the ocean's greatest hits. They are blueprints. For millions of years, the only reason our tiny primate ancestors were safe is that we were on land, and they were in the water. And the only reason we've been safe to sail the seas for the last few thousand years is that they were gone. We've been living in a brief, quiet intermission, a rare pause in the ocean's long, bloody history of creating true Leviathans. But that's the thing about blueprints. They don't just disappear. The ocean has the recipe. It has the factory-tested schematics for building monsters, locked deep in its evolutionary code. And the scary part? The truly terrifying part? The environmental conditions that spawn these nightmares, the warm waters, the vast, concentrated food sources. They're all coming back. But this time we've added a new, secret ingredient. So the old giants are gone. Megalodon, Leviathan. They vanished when the planet's thermostat changed. A slow, natural cooling of the oceans shifted the food webs, and these massive specialists just couldn't keep up. They were evolutionary marvels, but they were adapted for a world that simply disappeared. For millions of years, the oceans have been relatively stable, relatively cool. But now the thermostat is being cranked again. Only this time, it isn't a slow, natural cycle. It's us. And we're not just turning up the heat. We're rewriting the entire rulebook for life in the sea. Let's start with the Great Buffet. Ingredient number 1, heat. As our atmosphere warms, the oceans absorb over 90% of that heat. This added energy is like dumping fertilizer on a garden. It's supercharging the base of the food web. We're seeing massive, unprecedented blooms of plankton and algae, vast green and red tides that are visible from space. This is the breadbasket of the sea. It's the fuel. And for the creatures that eat it like krill, it's a boom time. More fuel at the bottom means the animals above them can get bigger, faster. But just setting a bigger table isn't enough. You also have to change the guest list. And that's exactly what we've done. For the last century, we've been running the most ruthlessly efficient hunting operation in planetary history. We've been pulling middle management out of the ocean by the millions of tons. The sharks, the large tuna, the cod, the grouper, all the mid-level predators that would normally compete for resources, they're drastically reduced. We've created a power vacuum, an empty throne. Evolution hates a vacuum. It's an open invitation, a help-wanted sign for a new apex predator to step up and take the job. Here's the third and most terrifying ingredient. It's a paradox. We've created dead zones. These are vast, growing areas of the ocean, often near coastlines, where the runoff of our fertilizers and pollution has triggered such massive algae blooms that when they die and rot, the bacteria suck all the oxygen out of the water. They are hypoxic, suffocating voids. A dead zone sounds like a bad thing for a new giant, right? Wrong. It's the perfect hunting tool. These zones act like a wall. They push all the oxygen-breathing life, the fish, the squid, the krill, out of the deep and into narrow, compressed bands of livable water. The ocean is no longer a vast, 3D space where prey can scatter. It's a crowded, panicked hallway, an all-you-can-eat buffet line, perfectly arranged for anything that can hold its breath. So we have more food, less competition, and concentrated prey. The table is set. The guests should be arriving. But how do we know? How do we get evidence from a place we can't visit? Well, we look for clues. And scientists have just found a deeply disturbing one. It's called the mystery of the vanishing whale falls. A whale fall, by the way, is exactly what it sounds like. A dead whale that sinks miles down to the seafloor. It is a gift to the abyss, a 100-ton feast that should create a complex, thriving ecosystem of hagfish, sleeper sharks, and bone-eating worms for decades. A whale fall is one of the most important events in the deep sea. We've studied them before. A skeleton can last 50, even 100 years, supporting generations of life. It's a slow, steady process. At least it used to be. In the last decade, research subs revisiting known whale fall sites have been finding nothing. Just a strange, sterile patch of mud. Carcasses that should have lasted for half a century are being found picked clean. Not in years, not in months, but in days. One research team dropped a beacon on a new whale fall, and when they returned 2 weeks later, it was gone. The bones were scattered, stripped of every ounce of flesh. So what could do this? What could strip a 90-ton blue whale to the bone in a matter of days? The sleeper sharks and hagfish we know about, they're slow. They're methodical. They can't work that fast. The numbers don't add up. This implies something else. Something new. Something that is horrifyingly efficient. It's either a new type of creature, something massive and ravenous, or it's a swarm. A coordinated, overwhelming force that descends on the feast and strips it clean before any other creature even gets a chance. The deep-sea specialists are being outcompeted. Think about what this means. We've created the perfect storm. We've laid out a planet-wide banquet of supercharged plankton. We've murdered all the middlemen predators who would normally keep things in check. And we've herded the prey into convenient, easy-to-hunt corridors using walls of suffocating water. We've done everything except send out a formal invitation. And the vanishing whale falls? That's the RSVP. It's the proof that someone has just sat down to eat. So, the only question left is, what happens when evolution gets a blank check? So, we've handed evolution a blank check. We've turbocharged the oceans with heat, choked them with new chemicals, and cleared out all the old management. This isn't the slow, graceful, million-year waltz of natural selection we learned about in school. This is a chaotic, high-speed pressure cooker. We've thrown a bunch of new, extreme ingredients into the pot, slammed the lid on, and turned the heat all the way up. The result? Evolution is in a panic, and it's starting to get weird. It's being forced to find new answers, new body plans, and new ways to live fast. To understand what might be happening, we have to look at one of evolution's strangest habits. It's a phenomenon called carcinization. In simple terms, it's evolution's strange obsession with crabs. At least 5 separate times in history, completely different groups of crustaceans, like king crabs and porcelain crabs, have independently evolved into a crab-like shape. Why? Because apparently the crab is just a really, really good design. It's a stable, efficient, successful body plan. Evolution, when given the chance, keeps returning to it. It's a perfect solution. So, the terrifying question is, in this new, high-pressure ocean we've created, what's the new crab? What is the perfect body plan for a world with vast plankton blooms, hypoxic dead zones, and less competition? Is it a bigger, faster shark? Is it a more intelligent, pack-hunting squid? Or is it something so wildly different we haven't even considered it? We've forced life to find a new, perfect form. And in the dark, something is evolving towards a new, dominant design. A new apex. But it's not just the rules that have changed. It's the materials. For the last 70 years, we've been dumping billions of tons of a brand new, indestructible substance into the sea, plastic. We're now finding microplastics everywhere, from the ice in the Arctic to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. We've always seen this as a tragedy, a pollutant. But what if we're wrong? What if, to some new form of life, this isn't pollution? It's a building material. What if something isn't just surviving our plastic, but using it? Let's meet our first contender. We already have creatures in the ocean called siphonophores. The Portuguese man-o'-war is the most famous. It's not one animal. It's a colony, a floating, cooperative city of thousands of specialized organisms, all working together as one. Some are for floating, some for stinging, some for eating. Now, imagine a siphonophore that has adapted to our new, polluted world. Imagine a siphonophore supercolony. This thing isn't one creature. It's a living nation of specialized jellies. And it's enormous. Not 50 feet, but maybe 5 miles long. A vast, gelatinous, living driftnet, shimmering with faint bioluminescence. It doesn't hunt. It just is. It drifts silently on the currents, right through those new, supercharged plankton highways we've created. It's a living, breathing filter, a mouth miles wide, passively absorbing a constant stream of food. But it's absorbing something else, too. It's absorbing the microplastics. What does it do with them? It doesn't just pass them. It integrates them. Its outer organisms, the skin of the colony, have evolved to bind the plastic particles, to weave them into a flexible biological polymer. It's building a shell, a tough, resilient armored hide made from our own trash. It's becoming a living, toxic, plastic-armored fortress. It is a new life form born of our waste, a new, massive, and almost indestructible player in the food web. Now, let's look at our second contender. Remember those vanishing whale falls? The skeletons picked clean in days, not decades? This brings us to the trench eaters. We know about hagfish, the horrifying, slime-producing creatures that can tie themselves in knots to rip flesh. We know about the ancient, slow-moving sleeper sharks, but they were adapted for a world of scarcity. We've given them abundance. All those dead plankton blooms, all the bycatch from fishing. It all sinks. The abyss is now a 24/7 buffet. This new, high-energy diet is changing them. This is pressure cooker evolution again. The trench eaters are the result. These aren't the slow, methodical scavengers of old. These are swarms. Hagfish that have grown to the size of pythons. Sleeper sharks, fat and fast, hunting in aggressive packs. They are the ones stripping the whale falls. They are a new, gluttonous, and incredibly successful force in the deep. They are breeding in huge numbers, growing enormous. They're no longer just the cleanup crew. They are a massive, thriving, brand-new food source. So these are the new players. On one hand, a vast, toxic, plastic-armored, living net of jelly. On the other, a ravenous, swarming horde of trench eaters. The old middle management is gone, and these new, bizarre contenders are taking their place. They are the new prey, but every food web needs a boss. Every game needs a final player. And all this new, abundant, concentrated food on the seafloor. It's creating the perfect conditions for a new apex predator to evolve and hunt them. A true Leviathan. The stage is set. The new, hyper-abundant prey is in place. The plastic-armored jelly nets and the swarming trench eaters. But a food web always builds to a peak. An apex. These new contenders are just the middle of the food chain. Now, it's time to meet the things that are hunting them. The new masters. This is what evolution has been building in the dark, funded by our blank check. These are the future Leviathans. First, let's meet the Abyssal Hunter. It's an old blueprint, given a terrifying upgrade. Its ancestor is something like the Greenland shark, an ancient, slow-moving giant that can live for 400 years, silently patrolling the abyss. But we gave it a new high-energy food source, those ravenous trench eaters. All that new, abundant food has allowed it to grow and grow. This is the new megalodon, a 70-foot ghost, built not for speed, but for silence. It doesn't chase its prey. It is an ambush predator from the absolute bottom. It rises from the mud like a living mountain, a silent, black shadow. And here's the part that will crawl under your skin. It's learned to hunt us. Along its flank, it has evolved complex photophores, bioluminescent organs. But they don't just glow. They have learned to mimic. They pulse in the exact pattern and color temperature of our deep-sea research submersibles. It lures in orcas, sperm whales, and other sharks, mistaking its lights for a familiar vessel, until the mountain beneath them opens. But evolution doesn't just do brute force. It also does brain. Meet our second Leviathan, the crocodile. Its ancestors are the Humboldt and colossal squids, creatures already known for their terrifying, problem-solving intelligence. But our warmer surface waters have given them a new, global territory. They no longer need to stay in the crushing deep. And they are smart. They have learned. They have watched us. And they have adapted. These crocodilians hunt in coordinated, silent packs of 20 or 30. They communicate with flashes of color, executing complex strategies. They don't just hunt whales. They've learned to see us as the competition. We have footage. A pack of them working in perfect sync, dismantling a deep-sea fishing trawler. Not to eat the crew. No, it was worse. They were sinking it, disabling the engine, tearing the rudder, flooding the hull. It wasn't an act of hunger. It was an act of war. A cold, calculated removal of a rival predator from their new territory. These two are terrifying, right? A silent mimic shark and a hyper-intelligent squid pack. But they still don't explain everything. They don't explain the sounds from Act I, those deep, continental rumbles. And they don't really explain the vanishing whale falls. Even a pack of crocodilians would take time. A single abyssal hunter is a slow feeder. What stripped a 100-ton whale to the bone in hours? What is so big, so powerful it can generate a sound that crosses an ocean? The answer is the real monster, the one we never saw coming, because we were looking for one big thing. And that's not what we made. The true apex predator of this new ocean is the swarm. It's not a single entity. It's a hive mind, a gestalt intelligence, a single consciousness made of millions of smaller, hypervicious creatures. Think of a bobbit worm or a mantis shrimp, lightning fast, armored, and brutally smart. Now imagine millions of them all moving as one. This thing is what's cleaning the whale falls. It's a living, chittering, armored carpet that flows across the seafloor and strips a carcass clean with horrifying speed. It's a river of interlocking, clicking, specialized bodies. And the sound? The bloop? That wasn't one animal. It was the sound of millions of them, communicating at once. A harmonic resonance of a million tiny voices, all speaking as one. A roar that comes not from one throat, but from a living continent. And here is the final, horrifying reveal. They don't just swarm, they build. When the swarm decides to hunt larger prey, it assembles. The individual creatures link their bodies, lock their armored plates, and coordinate their movements to form a temporary, massive shape. A pseudo-Leviathan. A giant, coiled body with a head made of 10,000 mouths. The sonar echo that looked like a 747? It wasn't one creature. It was the swarm, wearing the shape of a monster. A thinking, shifting, hungry wave with a million bodies and a single terrifying mind. So, there they are. The abyssal hunter, the crocodilian packs, the swarm. These are the new rulers, born of our waste, fed by our mistakes, and raised in the dark. The kingdom we thought was ours, the vast open ocean, is theirs now. This isn't a speculative what if for the distant future. The evidence, the sounds, the vanishings, it's all pointing to a new reality. We have to accept a new, humbling truth. We are no longer the uncontested rulers of this planet. We've been demoted. Look at our greatest achievements. That massive container ship, a quarter-mile long, carrying the commerce of our world? To a crocodilian pack, it's a rival to be sunk. That billion-dollar aircraft carrier? To an abyssal hunter, its sonar is a dinner bell. And our deepest diving research subs, our tiny, fragile spheres of titanium, they are now just snacks. We've spent a century building toys, all while the real power, the deep, creative, dangerous engine of life was busy building titans. And here's the strangest part. This isn't just scary. I mean, it is terrifying. But it's also awesome. In the truest sense of the word, awe-inspiring. Look at the power of nature. We hit it with everything we had. We heated it. We poisoned it. We choked it with plastic. We emptied it of its ancient lineages. And life didn't just die. It didn't just give up. It said, all right, new rules. Let's play. And in the span of a few generations, it created this. Creatures of nightmare and wonder. This is a call for humility, written on a planetary scale. We are not, and have never been, masters of this world. We are just a very loud, very messy part of it. The ocean is not a resource for us to manage or conquer. It is a living, breathing, conscious entity, with its own rules and its own rulers. We've been acting like landlords, but it turns out we've just been noisy tenants. And the real owners, the ones who were here long before us and will be here long after, are starting to notice the racket. What does this mean for us? It means the ocean is no longer a highway. It's a territory, a borderland, and we are no longer welcome to cross it freely. Every ship that leaves port, every sub that dives, every oil rig that drills. It's an intrusion, an invasion of a newly claimed sovereign space. And the new rulers? They are intelligent, they are powerful, and they are not happy about the competition. We've been living in a brief, peaceful anomaly. The real, wild, monstrous world is back. We have to face the fact that we know nothing. We've explored maybe 5% of our own oceans. The other 95% is a black box, a realm where our physics and our biology are just suggestions. We've accidentally triggered a new evolutionary arms race in a place we can't see, with rules we don't understand. We've been so obsessed with searching for life on other planets, we've ignored the alien intelligences we've been helping to create right here, in our own basement. It brings us back, full circle, back to that tiny, dark control room, back to the sonar screen, that rhythmic ping. It sounds different now, doesn't it? It's not the confident pulse of an explorer. Sounds small, frightened. It's the sound of a blind man tapping his cane in a dark room, desperately hoping that nothing taps back. We've been listening, but now we have to wonder, what's been listening to us? And on the screen, we see it. A single, flashing green light. Our deepest research submarine, the Odyssey, mapping a new trench. A tiny beacon of human courage. And then, the sonar paints it. A new contact. A return echo so vast it at first registers as a canyon wall. A geological feature. But it's moving. A shape the size of a city block, one of our Leviathans, is drifting slowly, casually, a mile above the sub. The Odyssey's sonar pings again. A single, directed pulse. A question. Asterisk. What are you? Asterisk, and in the dark, the massive shape, the impossible creature, stops. This casual, continental drift comes to a halt. Then, on the screen, we watch in cold silence as the shape slowly, deliberately, turns. It turns towards the tiny green light. The hunt is over. The age of awe has begun. We've spent 100 years searching for monsters. What if they've just been waiting for us to make them?